Hello again, and welcome to another edition of Media Watch. I'm your co-host, Eric Tait.
I'm Bob Anthony.
And I'm Raymond Peterson.
And we're taping the Wednesday before our Monday air, and it's brought to you by the good graces of Manhattan Neighborhood Network and EVT Educational Productions. And we'll try to do some analysis, background, stuff that's not necessarily in the top of the news. Even though we're taping the day after the last Democratic primary,
right,
which we may or may not discuss.
Yes.
But why don't we just go to one of our standbys, being black in America.
Right.
and we haven't done being black in America in a while. So, Raymond, what was that really crazy story that we came across?
Well, there was a fashion show at the Fashion Institute of Technology. It was the concept was done by a former graduate student, and it's important to note that he's a gentleman from China, and probably did not understand the ramifications of what he was attempting to do. But he had this idea to call attention to unpleasing features of the human body, and he chose to do this in such a way that was offensive to black people. It should have been offensive to anybody, but especially offensive to black people, consisting of big monkey-like ears and huge red lips.
Overinflated, huge, giant.
That I understand were taken from sex toys of some kind.
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah.
I missed that.
Yeah,
Yes.
no. That's in this article that I was reading about.
Yeah. We don't have a picture to pull up, but if you Google FIT fashion show and look in the news column, you'll find the photo that we're talking about.
It'll pop right up.
Absolutely. But the point is, yes, this had to go through Americans. A whole committee of people, the school, the fashion industry. I mean, whoever put on Fashion Week, millions
All the
of people saw
graduates,
this.
the graduate instructors, the administrators overseeing the show.
Everybody,
They're all
everybody.
Native American folk
the only
who understand the problem.
The only person who voiced an objection was a black model who was actually in the show and refused to wear the props.
Yeah, she tried to warn them about
craziness
of
and
what
they put on
were doing.
the show anyhow. She walked the show, but she did not wear the props. Her name is Amy Lefevre, Lefevre, a name which I have never and will probably never be able to pronounce correctly.
Kudos to Amy.
Yes.
Absolutely, I admire her. But they're, well, as I say, it's just impossible. I don't blame the Chinese guy. He just doesn't know. It's sort of like white privilege. If you've never experienced it, you don't know it.
I'm sure there are things in their culture that I don't understand. But if you saw this photo, it's the equivalent to, I don't know, a blackface throwback mammy type image. I mean, it's in that vein, that bad.
Totally distorted into more caricature.
Yes.
Exactly. But he might not have been exposed to any of that in China. They're not big on covering American black history, as our country is not either. So he may have been totally in the dark.
But key for me is the African American model who's there saying to them, "Are you people crazy?" Pretty much.
Right, exactly.
Why are you allowing this to go on, and why are you even underwriting and subscribing to this? This is not in the best interest of anybody. Not the school, not black people, and definitely not me.
Absolutely. And I mean,
and she said, "I will not wear this stuff. That's not going on me."
Good for her.
And
there has been some fallout.
Yeah, there's been fallout.
They
went ahead with the show, and of course there was fallout. And I see the fallout was that it was all over the news when it happened, and a couple days ago, FIT administrators suspended amid backlash over a fashion show evoking racist stereotypes. I'm reading a story from Gothamist.com. And I'm just reading from your screen, the director of the show, John Kyle Farmer, was one of the people suspended. I'll just read the quick sentence. Mary Davis, the dean of the School of Graduate Studies, and Jonathan Kyle Farmer the chair of the MFA Fashion Design Department and the director of that show, have been placed on leave while an external law firm conducts an investigation into what transpired, according to a statement from the school. Currently, it does not appear that the original intent of the design, the use of the accessories, were to make a statement about race. It's a long statement. I won't go through it. It doesn't in any way satisfy me as a valid explanation as to what happened.
I am shaking my head.
Yeah.
I just
From shoulder to shoulder.
Yeah, yes, you are, yes.
I can't. I mean,
And you don't want to hurt something, Eric.
the suspensions are. I mean, how could they not expect some kind of blowback from that kind of stupidity?
Is there any way we can show this picture?
If you should have thought about that.
Why
why
don't you go full screen? Yeah, why don't you just reverse your computer? I think that'll show up on TV.
Oh,
you can
see that.
Yes.
Yeah, folks.
That's just a ridiculous
That is, yeah.
rendition.
Yeah.
We're looking at a screen, not at the camera at the moment, but you can
that's,
you can
that's
see.
a caricature.
It's-
Too bad we can't get you close up. If we
Yeah.
had a head, we would.
But if you look-
anyway,
Yes.
you
if you
really
look it
don't.
up, you'll
You
find
really
it.
don't want to see it in
Yeah,
close up.
it's just totally absurd. I'm surprised that anybody wore this, actually. I wouldn't have.
Hey,
Regardless.
hey, maybe there was only one black model in that entire show, and she said, "I'm not putting that crap on me,
But,
and I'm not condoning this."
White ears. I don't care. I wouldn't have done it.
All I'm saying to you is, had there been other black models,
yeah.
But
they may have chosen to wear the accessory.
might have,
All
depending
I'm
upon
saying
how
is,
they
we
were
don't know.
to boost their careers.
My gut feeling is they would have probably reacted the way Miss Lefebvre did.
I would hope
and would
so.
have said, that's not for me.
and I don't know who the administrators are, but I can't believe that someone of color was in administration
There had-
overseeing
oh,
the
FIT?
show.
Just saw
There
any of
must have
that.
been.
I don't know.
And I don't know. Yeah,
I know.
I hate to speculate.
Two of our personal friends, artists, actually teach at FIT.
Okay.
Stedworth Leghorn and Eli Kintz.
Oh, I
Those
didn't
guys
know
are
that.
phenomenal artists, and they're on the faculty, but I don't think
No.
they're in the fashion
Right.
end of the FIT thing. So I'm sure they weren't.
Right.
Had they been involved in that show,
No.
the concept would have been squashed
Yes.
from day one.
Yes, I
But,
think-
but anyway.
I think the props would have been destroyed.
No, not that our folks are
Yes.
friends of that, but they would have given them a updated lecture on what's appropriate and what's not appropriate. I go out on a limb and say that.
Yes.
But speaking of models and fashion shows,
Yeah.
it pains us. But Bob, you've got an update that pains
Yeah,
many folk in the country.
Right, and the tributes have been coming in from all over the place. It wasn't hard to get them over the passing of B.Smith, the restaurateur, the model, the entrepreneur, the inspirer. I mean, just an amazing person. Not just known for her modeling.
I believe broke the magazine color line on either Vogue or one of those
Well,
high-end fashion
she-
models. She was the first
she-
one.
But no, she was the second.
Second.
She
Yeah.
was the second, but it was
Yeah.
Mademoiselle.
Yes.
So she indeed would have had something to say.
Yes.
that
Well, I
show
think
popped
she
up
would have.
anywhere near
I
her.
think she would have, yeah.
But she became more than just a high fashion model and magazine fixture. She became a great restaurateur. She had all kinds of personal home stylists. I mean, basically, she became a personal stylist
Right.
for
Right.
home and individual.
The Black
so-
Martha Stewart. Oh, great.
Yes.
So,
But-
talk to us a little bit about how she helped the NYBJ.
Well,
New York Association of Black Journalists.
Yeah, she was a big supporter of all professional organizations for people of color, including the New York Association of Black Journalists, of which you're a former president, going
That's
back,
true. Yeah,
and I'm a
going back
former parliamentarian.
Yeah.
And so we had multiple events going back to 2006, 2007 at her restaurant. She always made sure she was there. She always spoke to the young people.
No, she
And-
was great.
I mean, what was your? Did
Well,
you
there
be?
was ABC had an event there, a cocktail type thing, and a couple of the departments down, news, local, and 2020 was there, some other people. And it was just a wonderful time. I mean, it was so pleasant. It was actually like being in your own spacious backyard. We
Right.
did it out on the terrace. And convivial, wonderful, warm person. I mean, she's a hostess, and you know, by profession, you're going to be that way. But
Right.
you could sense
No,
when
that was
when you met her that was genuine. That was
That's
who
right.
she was.
Right. That was
Yeah,
part of
that's-
her.
that's
That
who-
that
that's
wasn't
who the woman
trained.
was.
When,
No.
when, when I met her, I felt that same personal exchange of warmth, and
Yeah.
happy to see you. Glad you're here. Not just as, yeah, I'm glad you're doing business here in my restaurant. No, it
No,
wasn't like
right,
that.
right.
It was
And,
not
and
like
the thing
that.
is, you can tell, you know that she was there since like probably 7 or 8 o'clock that morning, and here it is, 7, 8 o'clock at night,
Right.
and she's just as fresh as anybody else,
Yes.
you know, hopping around, and it's a shame that the disease is terrible. It's a
Yeah,
terrible-
it was
Early onset
yeah.
Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
Yes, and
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
when she first started suffering from it, the world didn't know. We just knew that her restaurant business was wrapping up, and we didn't know at the time. We were like, did the rent go up, or what happened? And then when we found out, it broke all of our hearts.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Yeah, it was- yeah.
Yeah.
You
But,
know, you-
but I'll say it again. She walked tall in her profession, and she was a role model for a lot of young black women who aspired to be like her.
Absolutely.
And she may have been a role model for other women.
Yes.
So,
And I just want to read the lead. I mean, full disclosure, this is written by an old friend of mine, Karen Robinson Jacobs, for NBC News. Now, she used to be at the Dallas Morning News. Let me just read her lead. Lifestyle maestra and restaurateur B.Smith parlayed an iconic sense of style and a megawatt smile into a food and entertainment empire that touched diners along the East Coast and viewers across the nation. And I'll stop there because we have to move on, but that just encapsulates, her career.
well, actually, speaking of leads, I'm glad you said that
Yes.
because like we're paying homage and tribute to B.Smith. Another great lady passed at 101. And Katherine Johnson, the lady who was one of the preeminent figures on which the movie Hidden Figures was based, the mathematician par excellence that helped NASA put a man in space, in orbit, and on the moon.
She was directly responsible for that. It was her
Well,
calculations that put him up there, brought him back.
Let me
Yes.
give you the lead. Let me
Yeah.
give you the
Okay.
lead.
Yes, yes.
Let me give you the lead. Because Bob mentioned leads.
Yes.
This is the lead of the story that the New York Times put out on February 24th about Katherine Johnson's passing. I quote, "They asked Katherine Johnson for the moon, and she gave it to them. They asked her for the moon, and she gave it to them. Her calculations made sure
Yes.
they could get in orbit around the moon and put a man on there so that the Americans were the first to walk on the moon." I hadn't seen a lead that good in a long
Yes.
time. And let's give credit where credit's due. A lady by the name of Margaret Fox wrote that lead and had a phenomenal tribute to Katherine Johnson. I actually was moved to give her a shout out, which was a one-line shout out in the comment section of the article, which fine tribute to a great lady and her colleagues. Really love that lead.
Yes.
So
That's what they teach in journalism school, to get that point across succinctly, but that's beautiful.
that was one of the best leads I've seen ever. And so, as one journalist to another, extremely well done, Miss
Yes.
Fox. But she really wrote a great tribute to Katherine Johnson and her other colleagues in that program, because she may have been the most highlighted figure, but there were more than one of them who did their mathematical computations and made the NASA space program what it actually became.
And they were highlighted in the movie
Hidden Figures.
Hidden Figures.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent.
So It's interesting that two female icons
Yes.
of African American extraction passed within the same week.
Yes.
And I'm happy to make note of both their lives and give a great shout out to them for their accomplishments. Which brings us to where are we in the 21st century as the struggle to find someone to pit against the man in the White House heats up. There is not one person of color still left in this race. And
Right.
so I'm talking here now on camera before the South Carolina primary, which is going to be this coming Saturday, which when you see the show will be the Saturday before the Monday that the show airs.
Yes.
and the quote, supposed hope for black people in South Carolina is Joe Biden. What's your take on that?
I mean, South Carolina. I mean, that's Columbia's where they had the fight over the Confederate flag, and they just Confederate monument. They had to move. Well, they had to move the flag off the grounds of the state capitol. I mean, so that's just the state we're working with here.
That's just locally.
Yes,
but
yeah.
we're talking presidential
Yes,
election.
I know. Biden, and I'm not a big poll believer, so I do believe Biden needs to get his game going. He had a chance to get it going yesterday. I don't know about you guys. I couldn't watch the debate. I was just
watch it.
I tuned in seriously. I tuned in 3 different times. Tuned out because they were yelling at each other. I didn't absorb anything from it. So I think he needs to, pick up steam if he's going to be relevant. And so does Warren a little bit. She's smart, logical, and I'm not having a lot of problems with her or Bernie or Biden. We just need to find somebody to get behind quickly.
Well, that's going to happen at the convention, and it's what's more important. I don't care which of the 3 candidates, the 3 leading candidates, wins.
Who are your 3 leading candidates?
Bernie.
Okay.
What's her name? Whose name?
Elizabeth Warren.
Elizabeth Warren. Thank you. And Biden.
Okay. That's you guys.
No.
Who's your top 3?
Well,
not to cut
okay,
you
go
off.
ahead. Go ahead.
No, I would agree with that. Biden,
Okay.
Biden, Bernie, and Elizabeth Warren. Go ahead.
Finish up.
I was just going to say, Biden, I would have to put at number 3. I think he's on his way out. I really do. I mean, the last debate, not the one last night, but the one before that, the guy stumbled off the stage. I mean, he did. You go back and look at it. The man stumbled off the stage. I don't know what his health is like. I don't know.
All right.
I don't know.
Okay.
The important thing is that whoever is nominated is the person that everybody needs to get up, go out, and vote for, because we're going to be down to, and we are down to, anybody but Trump.
Okay. All right.
All right.
So, I mean, because we don't know what's going to happen in South Carolina,
Right.
and then the day after we air, it's going to be Super Tuesday.
Right.
Where 14 states go.
Yeah.
So all this stuff is going to shake out fairly quickly as to who is really top tier, top 3, whatever. I noticed neither of you guys mentioned Pete Buttigieg, but every time I turn on my TV, everybody's talking Pete Buttigieg, and I'm going, what am I missing here? Either I'm seeing, how do you stop Bernie? Who can stop Bernie? And I'm going, why are we talking about trying to stop somebody that people seem to be voting for? That's the first way the question's being framed that actually disturbs me. I mean, of all the progressives, I probably would say I'm more of an Elizabeth Warren than a Bernie Sanders, but I would not be going out there saying who's going to stop Bernie, because if Bernie can get people to come to the polls and vote for him, why are you trying to stop him? Well, somebody is saying, well, he's not really a Democrat. Well, you should have said that
Yeah.
4 years ago when he
Yes.
was running for your nomination.
Right.
Now, 4 years later, you're going to say he's not really a Democrat?
Yeah.
Don't want to hear that argument.
Yeah.
So,
you can say that about Bloomberg, but
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm not really a Democrat
yeah,
either. It's no big deal.
and we haven't even gotten into the money part of this
Yeah,
because
exactly.
that's another whole argument
It
there.
is.
But I'm glad you raised Bloomberg because Ray is correct. It is anybody but Trump for my money. We cannot afford 4 more years of that wacko. The globe can't afford it. The country can't afford it. But I'm really worried because with no person of color in this race for the Democrats, and Donald Trump ain't talking for people of color, even though he's trying to get black and Hispanic
Yeah.
votes. I haven't really heard any of these folks articulate my issues and my concerns on a really nuts and bolts ground level. They speak platitudes and they say, oh yeah, it's a bad criminal justice system, we need to fix it, and blah, blah, blah. And Bloomberg said, yeah, well, I apologize for stop and frisk.
Yeah.
But yeah, apologize and go fix the lives you broke with people who can't get into college, who can't do anything now because of your stop and frisk policy that's thrown them into the criminal justice system that they can't get out of or are having a hard time getting out of. So my question is, are we still going to be, as black people voting in this country, again in a rock and a hard place on who the hell really looks out for us? They all say, yeah, they can't win without the black vote, but who's actually doing anything for black people? I don't know. I mean,
Will it have to wait till somebody picks a running mate, till we believe in a candidate? Well, that's an opportunity there. I'm just saying.
okay,
For us-
articulate a possibility,
I'm not sure. Well, Cory Booker, I don't think he would want to be vice president.
that's a possibility. Who knows?
Yeah, he might.
okay.
Because he might decide. He might decide he wants to spend 4 years in Washington rather than New Jersey, or 6 in New Jersey.
Okay.
So something like that might twist.
Make you more inclined to say, I'll go for that ticket.
And get people out of their seats. Because if people go into the election bored, we're going to see another 4 years of Trump.
Oh, hell yeah.
Because Democrats are fickle. I'm sorry, they are. When it comes to showing up, it's raining. Oh, I don't want to. I'm sorry, it happens.
I'm not arguing that. Ray, what's your about people articulating any issues that for real as opposed to platitudes?
You're right. Well, that's all that anybody's doing right now, and that's all I ever expect during an election campaign.
Okay.
Because no matter who's elected, no matter how good their intentions, what they intend to do today changes as soon as they walk through that door because everything is different.
Right.
And there's red tape, and there's this, and there's that, and there's too much opposition to any particular plan. So,
Buttigieg did make one good point at the debate, yesterday as we tape, today. He said it's not just about the president, it's about the Senate and the House.
Oh, yeah,
and he's dead on right, because that's where the fixing can get done, even if, heaven forbid, we get 4 more years of this idiot. If we flip the Senate and keep the House, it's a whole different ballgame.
Okay, that brings us to the other story that we wanted to talk about. Because down ballot issues are crucial, who you can drag with you on your coattails. And one of the key issues about black people that folks aren't discussing in any of these primaries is the Republicans' 15, 20-year assault on voting rights for black and brown people. All these voter suppression laws that they've passed, all these voter ID laws that they've passed. We got a post from Alan Singer, one of our longtime guests and colleagues, and we're talking about the 150th anniversary of the 15th Amendment.
Yes.
This month, the month of February. Actually, when we air, it's last month, because
Yes.
we're airing on March 2nd.
Yes.
So the bottom line is, theoretically, black people and other not native-born citizens were given the right to vote by the passage of the 15th Amendment. And after Reconstruction ended and got booted out by the cabal, 1876 Republican Democratic, let's get together and we'll pull all our troops out the South and you Southerners can do whatever you want with formerly enslaved people.
Right.
They passed all kinds of laws negating the 15th Amendment. All kinds of state laws got passed, and you were talking about poll taxes and grandfathered stuff.
Yeah, you couldn't vote if your grandfather wasn't a registered voter.
Yeah.
Couldn't vote if you couldn't read, which was like one of the main stopping points because they weren't educating black
Right.
people.
Yeah, exactly.
The list is endless.
Yeah,
You
and
live in the
so
wrong
we had to
district.
have a 1964 Voting Rights Act
Right.
in order to shore
To-
up
to-
to shore up
Yeah.
what was already
Exactly.
passed that said we
Yes.
could
Right.
vote.
Exactly.
But
Yes.
guess what? Even after that, then the Supreme Court 2 years ago just gutted certain provisions about that. So basically, what I'm saying is, if we don't figure out a way to fight voter suppression laws, if we don't, I guess we got to fight on all fronts. Everybody got to register everybody and his uncle, like Jesse Jackson used to say in 1984,
Right.
rocks lying on the ground. Get everybody registered that's unregistered, and then get them to the polls.
Right.
We got to fight that fight, and then because you take it to the courts when they pass all these crazy laws, it takes you 2 years, and so they've already screwed you for the election. So the bottom line is, we're screwed unless we fight on every front.
Right. Have to get lit on that subject.
We got, like you were saying, you got to get the passionate people out there. Ask the Bernie people; they're very passionate.
They're extremely
But the
passionate,
bottom line is, the passionate people, if Bernie doesn't get the nomination, better be passionate for whoever the Democrats put in.
Okay.
Unlike last time.
We have 2 minutes.
Okay, in 2 minutes,
Yeah.
what do you recommend to the Democrats that they do to get the fire lit under their people, to get them registered to vote, and then protect their voting rights?
Well, just simply do that. Put a fire under the people that you know. Anybody that you see that's not passionate about this isn't paying attention.
Right.
Make them pay attention.
And voters tend to have a short memory. I think there's all sorts of Trump tapes you can roll out. Stupid things he said, just examples of this and that where he insulted that person or tried to get rid of that law. Remind the people of the crap they've been through, because people's memory tend to be short, and so that they.
No, you're right. The guy is so bad. CDC says the coronavirus is about to do a number on us. This guy says,
Yes.
oh, we got this pretty much under control.
Yes,
It's all
yeah,
nailed
right,
down.
yeah.
And his
Yes.
economic advisor says, we got it airtight, locked
said we
down.
have smart people.
4 more years and nobody's going to die.
And,
Exactly.
and the stock market is looking real good.
Yes.
So that's what you got to
not
deal
looking
with.
good, yeah, no, it's not
And
looking
we
too
didn't do
good.
coronavirus, folks, because guess what? We have no idea what it's going to be like on
Yeah.
the 2nd of March when this show airs.
Yes.
Because we think I think there's a pandemic coming. This has been Media Watch.
Yeah, we have a little. Yeah. Go ahead.
I mean, and we try not to yell the sky's falling, but my gut feeling is you need to prepare for the coronavirus, because as the CD says, it's not if it's coming, it's when it's coming and how bad is it going to be.
Okay. Now we're done.
It's been Media Watch. I'm Eric Tait.
I'm Bob Anthony.
And I'm Raymond Peterson.
Follow us on Twitter and YouTube at MediaWatch EVT.
And we'll catch you the next time.
And vote.